Hi, my name is Michael Martinez with LA Compost, and today we'll be talking about composting within communities. The first section of our talk will be discussing compost and our lived experience. Here at LA Compost, we use the phrase soil and people, and we value both in the same manner. When we talk about community composting, we're often focused on that second word and the intricacies of composting. But there's a human element that we can't disregard, that we can't forget, and that we have to focus on. So briefly, I just kind of want to talk about the similarities between composting and what's happening within the soil, as well as what's happening within our communities. Compost is very much more than just the end product of decomposition. In my opinion, it really is a reflection of our communities here across LA. The picture you see is a map of LA County. We are the most populous county in the country. Over 10 million of us who call this place home. LA is very much defined by our freeways, unfortunately. There are ways of connecting us from one community to another, one zip code to another. And when you kind of squint your eyes a bit, you begin to get a glimpse of what's happening below the ground. Below the ground, there's this beautiful interaction taking place, this magic soil fungi kingdom, this beautiful soil food web where resources are shared, connections are made, and support is given all throughout the system. And what really excites me is how do we as a city, how do we as community members mimic that food web underground to create this human network above the ground? There's 10 million of us, and our individual impacts have a huge ability to create positive change, not just in our own neighborhoods and zip codes, but our city and counties as well. And for me, it's really important for us to recognize that all of us call LA home in some way, shape, or form. So when you look on this map, think about where you came from, where you are now, perhaps where you visited, and how are our individual impacts and daily actions, including those of compost, supporting this work of regeneration, this work of restoration, this work of healing that is taking place all across our communities. When I think of the beauty of a compost pile, I think of the collective imperfections and diversity of its ingredients. There's no exclusivity, perhaps, is a good word for that. It's very much inviting of the ingredients, of the parts that make up the beautiful compost process. When I think about the beauty of Los Angeles, I very much think about the people who call it home. And in many ways, there's this beautiful reflection of the inner workings of a compost pile and the inner workings of community. There is life transfers taking place. There is heated moments. There are basic elements of life, such as air and water, that are needed. But out the end comes something really beautiful, something that does not celebrate itself, something that is willing to give itself away, something that is excited about future growth around it. For us here in Los Angeles, we're not defined by a single landmark or a destination. I truly believe we are defined by the beauty of our neighborhoods, by the people who make up each zip code and community. And it's just incredible to see the parallels between the magic that takes place within the compost pile and the beautiful interactions and life transfers that take place within our community. So I encourage you, wherever you're watching this from, to recognize that you too are part of a human network. You too are part of a community, and your actions transcend your individual self. And compost is just the start of the many life transfers that are taking place around us. One of my friends, Robert Egger from LA Kitchen, once said, "Neither food or people should ever go to waste." And I just believe it was such a profound statement because it showcased and spoke about the inherent value that life has. Food, I want us to remove waste from our vocabulary. It is a resource. It is a misplaced resource on occasion that can be reinvested in our communities. It can rebuild, restore, heal our soils, and have so many other positive environmental benefits. And when we start to see food, when we start to see people in a different light, using a different lens, we recognize the value that they possess, the resource that they can reinvest in our communities. And the beautiful thing about composting is it closes this loop that naturally exists in natural systems. Whether it's scraps from a kitchen, whether it's yard debris from a park, that material eventually can be returned to the soil, which supports the next cycle of life. In an urban setting, it can be the garden to the dinner table, from that dinner table to the compost pile, and from that compost pile back to that garden. So we're really excited to not only highlight the beautiful work that is compost, but the individuals around that pile that contribute to it weekly, that are part of this beautiful decomposition process, and to recognize that composting is much bigger than the very act of decomposition and finished humus product. When you think about compost, it might evoke different emotions, different lived experiences. You may have had failed piles or smells or perhaps unwanted guests, so to speak. The beautiful thing about composting is that it is very forgiving. The learning is in the doing, and you can read about it, watch the videos, but you need an opportunity to put what was learned into practice. Here at LA Compost, we believe community composting should not just be a back of yard in the shadows activity, but we want to place compost front and center where life is happening daily, in schools, in churches, community gardens, parks, libraries, urban farms, and very much our park model here in the city. Parks are a common denominator of green spaces across the entire country, and we're very encouraged and excited the stance that the city of Los Angeles has taken to advance composting and soil building efforts across our park systems and networks. And we believe that by establishing it here in LA, seeing other cities take leads as well, that this can be a model that any state, any city, any area across the country or globe with the park can model. We reimagine what recreation looks like. We reimagine what life transfers and protection and healing look like. And it starts with compost, and it starts with community, and it starts with you.